now joining us, we have Todd, Jeff, and Ray, and they are from the Blowing Rock Brewing Company. Thank you guys so much for being with us today and bringing all of this great stuff.
Well, you're welcome. We're happy to be here, and this is exciting.
Wonderful. Well, for any of our viewers who may not be familiar with the Blowing Rock Brewing Company, can you give us a little bit of background information about it?
Yeah, you bet. Jeff and I started the company in 2007. We got into the market around 2008. We have statewide distribution through Tryon, and between 2008 and kind of the middle to late part of 2011, we ran with our statewide distribution into about 500 accounts.
Wow.
We met Ray in 2009. Jeff and Ray met at actually at a beer festival at the coast.
Actually, Ray helped me change my flat tire in my car.
There you go, the start of a great friendship.
It kind of started there,
Yeah.
and then blossomed into other things.
Wonderful.
So we kept in communication with Ray, and we can talk more about Ray here in a minute, I suppose. But our pursuit was to open the brewery, a brewery, but the brewery now does exist in Blowing Rock at 152 Sunset Drive, the Blowing Rock Ale House and Brewery, and we're excited about it.
Fantastic. Now, tell us a little bit about the brewery. What is the environment like in there when you walk in?
Well, it's actually the brewery is it's a repurposed building right in the downtown area, just like a block off of Main Street, and we just really wanted to be in downtown Blowing Rock. We think that the town it has just a great feel about it, and to have a small, quality-focused brewery in the downtown where people can just kind of stroll in and maybe see what Ray's brewing and get a tour of the brewery is a special situation there. And so Blowing Rock's just perfect for that. And we also have the Blowing Rock Ale House on the same property. So and there's a full restaurant there where we're doing a lot of farm-to-table type cuisine, and we have a chef team, a husband and wife chef team, culinary trained, and so we really aim to kind of round out that experience. And it's actually in the oldest, correct me if I'm wrong, it's the longest standing inn in Blowing Rock. So,
wow.
And even today it's still an inn. It's just that we've the times change, and we've changed with the times.
Great.
But it does make us unique that we have the inn, the restaurant, and the brewery all within
Exactly.
one facility.
All right there together.
Mm-hmm.
So now, Ray, you do a lot of the brewing. Talk with us about that.
Well, this was a great opportunity for me because to build a special customized plant right in Blowing Rock, I felt like the beers would have to be top shelf kind of beers this time.
Right.
I brewed at a lot of breweries, and sometimes it's all about production and canning and mass production and volume and money. But this time I knew I was going to have a captivated audience in this pub, and I could produce 12 unique styles. So I put all my efforts into making sure that each and every one of those was a true representation of a traditional, maybe an international style of beer, but I wanted them to be drinkable and approachable and kind of elegant in their presentation. So I brought all my skills to the table with the creation of the beer list, and most importantly, with customizing the actual brew house so it could produce the best possible.
Wonderful. Now, can you talk with us a little bit about some of the specific kinds of beer that you offer?
Yeah, we like to do all kinds of beers there. We
Full
do
list?
have a very small brewery that makes 5 barrels at a time.
Okay.
And we have some fermenters that hold 10 barrels that we can double batch into. But it gives us some beers that we can distribute more broadly, and others that we just have a captivated clientele at the pub.
A barrel is about 31 gallons.
Yes.
Okay.
So that gives you some idea. So a big day of brewing for us would be to brew
300 gallons.
Wow.
That would be maybe a 14-hour day for you, right?
Right.
Yeah.
But
And
a
that,
drop in the bucket compared to Miller or Coors or Bud. But it gives us a chance to showcase some very unique styles of beer, and in that way we bring more than just the normal few that people are used to. We're always surprising our clientele with something that's different or unique or never been done before.
And those beers which are brewed at the brewery in Blowing Rock not only support the ale house with demand there with beers on draft, but we have our ale house series, which then goes out to our distributor and their local accounts in Western North Carolina that have picked it up, actually all the way to Charlotte, that have these beers on draft as well. And as you can see here, we have growlers, and somebody can come in and pick up a growler. It's a half-gallon glass jug, and they could take that with them to their cabin if they're renting a cabin, for the weekend, or take it home. So it's a good way to enjoy the beer.
And they're reusable, so they're cleaned and so they're very they're environmentally friendly in that way. And when a patron brings it back to the ale house to be filled, you're getting the freshest beer. We might have the beer may have been brewed like 2 weeks prior, so it's really just a great way for our community to enjoy a diverse array of different brewing styles, international styles, but as freshly brewed as possible with a brewer who has 3 decades of experience in brewing.
That's what he's doing.
Yes.
Now, can you talk with us a little bit about the 3 beers that you brought today?
I brought the Pilsner on the left. That's a traditional Czechoslovakian Pilsner. It's brewed as a full-bodied beer that's got some depth to it.
Okay.
It's got a hop character that's pronounced, but it's also a German lager, so it's extremely smooth. The center beer is our extra special bitter, and that's an English style. It's a little stronger than a normal beer, and so it's the old story with the English or extra special bitter was that it was a special occasion beer.
Okay.
It's about 6.5% alcohol by volume. And it's not bitter like we would think of in today's American beer styles. It's just an English bitter, which is a very comfortable beer to drink. And the third beer there is our Schwarz beer, which is a dark German lager. It's a very dark brown, caramel, toffee, toasted flavor in that, mildly so, and kind of a medium-bodied dark beer. You would be surprised that it's not a heavy beer.
Right.
And that's a very unique beer because of it not only being the medium body and the lightness of a dark beer, but it's also a German lager as well, so it's very smooth and very drinkable.
Wonderful.
Pairs really nicely with different cuisine too, different foods. In fact, I think what Ray wanted to do is just show an array of different brewing styles from the lighter Czech Pilsner to the Schwarz beer, and but each of them are brewed in such a way that they complement food. So when we're talking about craft brewing at this very high quality level, it's really quality is the pursuit. It's the to brew the most expressive styles possible, as much freshness as we can get into the final product, but quantity is not even part of the equation. So it's Blowing Rock is a very high-end boutique brewery, and it's a quality pursuit there. Much different than the way a lot of people think about the industry.
Right. So did you guys ever see yourself getting into brewing industry?
Oh yeah.
He saw it coming.
Yeah, the first wave of craft brewing was in the 90s, and then it kind of died off, and then the second wave picked up again in around 2004. I was in Denver in the 90s, and that's when I kind of gained an initial appreciation for craft beer. I'm from Boone, but left for 12 years, and then came back in 2004. And Jeff has a big, long background with...
I started, typical thing, I thought I wanted to be an electrical engineer when I went to college, and but what happened is when the Iron Curtain came down in Eastern Europe in the early 90s, I became very interested in developing business over there, because going from communism to more of a free market it seemed like there was a lot of opportunity. And so I actually, for a few years, was an importer. My own company that I started in the early 90s. And of course, I was living in Chicago with my wife-to-be, and we built the company through the 90s. And but in 2001, we decided to move to our cabin in Valley Cruces and raise the kids here. So when the kids were 1 and 3, we moved to Valley Cruces, and they go to the school in Valley Cruces, and of course Todd and I met just a few years later, and we knew we had one thing in common. and I don't know if we ever could have done it without meeting Ray, though, and Ray just brings such a to what everything that we're doing, and so it's really great how it's worked out.
My history in brewing goes way back because I had a bit of an interest in junior high school.
Okay.
Probably much sooner than I was supposed to. But much later in life, when I became an adult, I took it up seriously, and so I was pretty much self-taught as I got into it in the early 80s. One of my first adventures was going off to UC Davis to take that course in how to build a small brewery. And that was back when there were only 5 microbreweries on the West Coast.
Wow.
But as soon as the class went out, I went straight to Sierra Nevada and brewed on their little 10-barrel system in one of the first or second year of their operation.
When they were about our size.
Okay.
And then went up the coast and met Fritz and toured the Anchor Steam Brewery and met the guys at Red Hook. But I lived in Alaska for 35 years, and so
Wow.
my career was mostly based on waiting for someone up there to give me a call to build a brewery, and finally the call came in '90, and I've been brewing and retrofitting and rebuilding breweries ever since.
Fantastic.
This is my 7th brewery, the one in Blowing Rock.
Wow. Now, is it difficult to come up with all of these unique recipes?
I find it a challenge, but if I think far enough ahead, I like to think of the beer that I'm going to be making in about a year.
Okay.
Because what I want to do is
Planner.
visualize the final product and then study. If it's a particular style, I'm going to go in and read about the history and where it came from and what it was like, and try to, it's like an author would do writing a book, is you do your research, you get a feel for it, and then you'd kind of come up with how you wanted to present it.
And,
Right.
and the brewing is actually an artistic pursuit on the canvas of science, and so it's fermentation is a science, and it's microbiology and organic chemistry, and that's the canvas. So imagine like a painter or an artist of some sort working on that natural that canvas, but then their art is their pursuit. And but the art and the science, there's an exchange there between the two, and the best brewers can really use those two, the art and the science, to really create incredible things.
That's what makes the industry so unique, because it ties these two together.
And
Right.
it's that creative passion that I'm sure a lot of people are aware of how quickly or how the growth rate for the craft beer industry, and we're talking about the industry for beer overall is $100 billion. It's $100 billion in the United States, and the craft beer portion of that is about 8%, so about $8 billion. So it's a tiny little portion, but that craft portion includes Sierra Nevada, Samuel Adams, the big craft brands, and then so when we're talking about the smaller brands like us, there's about 2,000 brewers in the U.S. now that are that make up maybe 5% of the overall industry, but they're growing at 15% per year. So they're growing real fast, and the big brewers they're giving up a little market share. So people want to drink less quantity, but more quality.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, is there a most popular beer that if someone comes to the brewery, they have to try?
It's pretty much a toss-up between 3 of our beers.
Okay.
Our Pilsner is so approachable and drinkable by almost anyone. We also have a double IPA, which is everybody's favorite now. And we also have an American wheat ale that is so crisp and clean that it's really taken the three of them are pretty much tied for first place.
All right, so
And
one of those.
we've got a big chocolate porter that's been successful and popular. We've got a dark Belgian with figs and
Right.
spices.
And both of those are in the distribution market, and they are really catching on.
Wonderful. Well, it sounds like a great place to come by, have a beer, get some food, and thank you guys so much for coming in to talk
And
to
a
us.
tour of the brewery. Don't forget,
Exactly.
we are there to give personal tours of our operation.
Come and get a growler and check it out.
Sounds wonderful. Well, thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
And we will be back right after these messages with more of the Mountain Television Network.